everybody. I'm Donna Reid, and this is Donna Reid Talks Voice. And I will be working today with.
My name is Gabriella Mack, and I am in Cleveland, Ohio currently, but I live in New York City.
Great. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you before we start is since you've studied with me live in person, and now we've been studying virtually, what is the difference? What do you notice a difference in terms of studying virtually and studying live?
I feel honestly like it's kind of more efficient. Like I feel like I always progress quickly, but like now we can pinpoint things better with the sound because it's a little bit more intimate. It almost feels like.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So you're not finding it a hindrance at all.
No, I like it a lot.
Great, beautiful. Hey, it makes me happy because then I'm able to reach out to people everywhere instead of just being in New York.
Yeah.
Great. So I'll tell you what, let's start as I almost do with just about everybody. Do the exhale, inhale as you bring your arms up, exhale, and we'll do that a few times. And one more. Great. Now, one thing I want to point out to the YouTube watchers who are out there listening and watching is that you took your time with that. You took all the time you needed to exhale. You took all the time you needed to inhale. You didn't get through it very quickly. It's okay. I got to get this done and then get. You just took your time and did what you needed to do. Now you've got the air going in. You've got the air going out. We've got the rib cage moving. All that good stuff to prepare you before you even have to sing. Now, let's take these three notes on an U staccato and see where it goes. Great. Now, nothing seems tight, everything seems easy, right? Great. And if it doesn't, absolutely tell me, say, nope, that doesn't feel good. Usually I hear it, but if I don't, I just want to know. So let's do the same thing, but the whole octave. So let's take the whole octave now, and then notice what happens. Great. You notice on that one on the bottom, obviously there's a little bit more chest voice participation than on the top, and it started to vibrate a little tiny bit.
Yes.
Great. So you notice the chest voice participation, you hear the vibrations, and you allow it to vibrate. And if it doesn't want to vibrate, that's fine too.
ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Great. Now we're going to do the same thing, but you're going to do the first three on the ooh, 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 ooh. Then go right to ah, 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 staccato on the bottom one.
Ooh, 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 ah, ah.
Now you notice how much more chest voice is on that ah vowel on the bottom than there was on the oo vowel. Exactly, because the ahs
Yes.
give you a little bit more chest voice, the oohs a little bit more head voice, even though it was a chesty head voice on the bottom. Now start with that ah, and let's see what happens if you bring that up.
Ah, ah, ah.
Great. Now that top one, did that feel like a chest voice? Did it feel like a head voice? Did it feel like a mix? What did you experience with that?
That felt like a chest voice.
Okay, so you notice it felt like a chest voice, sounded like a chest voice, but there was nothing tight about it. There was no kind of a grab. It didn't seem like it was too much chest voice or that you were forcing or pushing or anything like that, right?
Sorry, it froze. No,
Okay.
nothing tight.
Okay, great. Let's do the next one. Again, you let the top note do whatever it is it wants to do, and then we'll see what it is. We'll explore it. We'll analyze it.
Ah, ah, ah.
Great. Now again, how did you experience that top note?
That one still felt mostly chest, but it was starting to add a little bit of head into it.
Exactly. It still sounds very chesty, but a nice chesty mix, right? Great.
Yeah.
Because, and the reason I'm asking this is many times a person will experience a note feeling like a head voice, a chest voice, a mix, but it will sound like something else. Right now, to my ear, the sound is going along with what you're feeling. Let's try the next thing. And again, you let it go wherever it wants to go. We'll analyze it, see what happens.
Ah, ah, ah.
And what about that one?
That one had more of the head in it. It
That's
still felt chesty, but
but you
definitely
can
more
hear
head in
more of a head
it.
voice in it. Great, exactly. So let's keep
Yeah.
going and see where it goes.
Ah, ah.
I'm guessing the same thing, just maybe slightly more head voice. Exactly.
Yeah, a little bit more head voices.
Let me go up a whole step and we'll see what happens.
Ah, ah, ah.
Even much more head voice, right?
Yeah.
Great. Now, do exactly the same thing with an oo vowel and really allow that top note to vibrate, let some vibrato come in and come back down.
Ooh. Sorry, you said ooh, right?
Right.
Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Much more head voice, right?
Mhm.
Of course, because it's an oo vowel. Now let's do same thing without a staccato, but do it with a K and an A. Bright, bright, bright. You just bring that brightness straight up. Be aggressive, be bold. K, and let it do its thing and back down. Now, how did that one feel on top?
It felt I felt more actually chest in that one, but it still felt like a lot of head. But I felt more chest than with the ooze.
Exactly. So, what I heard, well, let me ask you this first. How would you compare that one with the ah that we did before we did the ooh?
Um, I feel like there was more chest with this one than with the ah.
If you had to use this sound in a piece of music, would you consider that a belty sound or would it be too mixy?
I would consider that a belty sound.
Excellent, because again, this is really important for my listeners. Many, many times when a student will feel that the top note is mixy instead of belty, maybe it doesn't feel as chesty as they think it should feel, it sounds chesty. So if it sounds chesty and if it sounds belty, then it's belty. It doesn't have to feel like the lower chest voice. I just want to show on a very practical level how we get this sound into a piece of music. So we're going to take it from that sooner or later you're feeling the fire, as we did before. But what I want you to do, I'm just going to check out the pitch range here, and we're going to do this first. So that's the basic pitch range of of everything that we have to do in this particular, from this part to the end of the music. And I want you to do it all on that ka-a-a-a, big, bold, bright. Just notice what everything does. Notice how bold and bright, ka-a-a, bring it straight up, aggressive. See what happens, ka, and down. Great. Now you know the basic set of what it is you're going to do for the end of this piece of music. So let's give it a shot. I'll just have you sing it. If something doesn't work as efficiently as it could be, we'll work on it and figure it out. So from the sooner or later and then on, okay? See what happens.
Sooner or later, you're feeling the fire get higher and higher. The spark of creation.
Not bad except for the breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the breathing was a little awkward because it seemed like you didn't quite know where you were going with that. The sounds are great. The sounds, I'm guessing, feel fine. They look like they feel fine. Nothing's getting tight. Nothing feels like you're screaming or anything like that, right?
Yep.
Now, we have to work out the breathing. So this is actually a really good point to make because now that you know your voice can do it, you have to figure out the rhythm of it. Now, how do you figure out the rhythm of the breathing? Instead of figuring it out mechanically, like, oh, this phrase is doing this and that phrase is doing that, at the end here, sooner or later, you're feeling the fire get higher and higher, the spark of creation. That's what you're saying. Now, what's happening here? You're kind of excited, right? It's, you know, you're the spark of creation. It's the beginning of life, and oh my God, and I'm part of that. So if you were to just say it, where would you take the breath and how would you take the breath?
Um, Sooner or later, you're basically that first line is like a whole thought. So sooner or
Uh-huh.
later, feeling the fire get higher and higher. Breathe. The spark of creation is the second. So it's like two thoughts.
Okay. So you have two thoughts. So basically, you only have two breaths.
Mhm.
So sooner or later, you're feeling the fire get higher and higher. It's a relatively longish phrase.
Mhm.
So the first breath has to be kind of an excited, longer breath sooner or later.
Mhm.
And then once you get you're feeling the fire get higher and higher, and then again, this excited breath, the spark of creation. So
Mhm.
think of it in terms of that's your acting choice, these big excited breaths before you say these two very important phrases. And let's see what that does again. The register balances, the sounds themselves are great. Just think of the air in those terms. Okay, try it again.
Sooner or later, you're feeling the fire get higher and higher. The spark of creation.
Now, you didn't do what you said you were going to do. It kind of worked, but did it work? And was that exactly your intention of what you wanted to do? Did you notice what happened with the breaths?
No, I mean, yes, like I knew something was funky, but I don't know what it was.
Okay, so that's great. I mean, that's perfect because that's why we're doing this, so that I bring your awareness to that, then you know what you're doing. So what you did is sooner or later, I believe you took a little breath there. Sooner or later, you're feeling the fire get higher and higher. You took those little, there are these little sippy breaths in between. Now, that is a valid choice if that's your choice.
Mhm.
Sooner or later, you're feeling the fire get higher and higher. That works in an acting standpoint. That absolutely works. So the other way, taking one big long breath in one thought, or these little breaths, both are totally valid, but you have to be conscious as
Mhm.
opposed to, well, one day I do it this way, and one day I do it that way. Now, that doesn't mean you can't change it up, but it has to be an acting choice as opposed to, well, whatever comes out, comes out.
Mhm.
So now that you did it this way, I actually want you to do it this way again,
Mhm.
but let it be conscious. So
Okay.
then you don't need to take that big old breath the first time because you're going to take all these little breaths. So it could be sooner or later, you're feeling the fire get higher and higher and higher. Do you see? So you can do that. That's also valid. And then the big breath, the spark of creation.
Gotcha.
Do it a little bit more consciously that way.
Oh,
Okay?
sooner or later, you're feeling the fire get higher and higher. The spark of creation.
Now you didn't take those little breaths. Did you
It's
notice
like
that?
I don't think of them as breaths. It's my brain is like not working because I don't think of them as breaths. I just think of them as like that's
Pause.
yeah, like that's just how it's written. So I'm like, when I think of it as breaths, then it makes me mess up.
Okay, well, again, whatever you did right there, I loved that. And I liked everyone that you did so far. I'm just pointing out that they're slightly different. And what I'm trying to do is get you to the point where it's easy for you. It's the way you want to interpret it.
Hmm.
So, of all the ones that you sang it three times, which one did you like the best?
I think the second one.
Okay, so do you notice what you did differently in the second one than you did with the first one and the third one?
Yeah, I mean, well, no, it's yes, I noticed something was different. This last time, I was thinking more of the breaths, and the second time in my mind, I was thinking of it as more connected, even though there were pauses. So I wasn't thinking of them as
Okay,
breaths, just like breaks in the thought.
beautiful. Thank you. That makes it very clear because what you're thinking is what is going to come out.
Mhm.
Now do it again, and I'm actually not even going to have you worry about the breaths or anything. I want you to think totally just your intention. What is your acting intention? What are you thinking about this? What is at 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 the end of this song? What is it that you want to let people know? What are you saying?
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
one more time.
Sooner or later, you're feeling the fire get higher and higher. The spark of creation.
There we go. And that was the best one.
Mhm.
So this is a real good example of you work on something, you take it apart a little bit. I give you some suggestions, a little detail here, a little detail there, and then You just sing it, we see where you're at. Now, where this was relatively easy because there was nothing really technical we had to work on. The sounds were great. We didn't have to get a different mix. We didn't have to free up something that was possibly constricted. All good. So that all kind of worked out that way. That was wonderful. Now, you're going to hate me a lot, and this may not work, but I'm going to try this. So we're going to go from one extreme to the other. But first thing we're going to do is this. Let's do an oo staccato. No, first time oo, second time ah. So oo staccato, ah staccato. Obviously, we're in head voice territory.
You said staccato, right?
Right.
Sorry. It broke up. Okay.
Exactly. Great. Now, you kind of know where we're headed, right? So we're going to go the other extreme because I've done this before with Gabbi in many lessons. And we just did that Spark of Creation belty. Now we're going to do an audition cut for a Book of Mormon, which is the Spooky Mormon Hell Dream, which is total soprano, heady thing going on. Now, it may or may not work. That's not the important thing. The important thing is that we go from one extreme to the other and then see how we switch modes going from one to the other. Now, I can't play it along with you, obviously, because of the Zoom and the latency and all of that. And this is very tricky in terms of pitches, and she's on her own in doing this. If you don't get the pitches just right, don't worry about it, because when you sing it, and these are really funky pitches, when you sing it, there'll be an accompaniment with you. You'll have the orchestra, piano, whichever way it's going, playing with you, and then you'll get right on the pitches, but you're kind of on your own, so good luck with that. And again, it doesn't matter if they're a little bit off. What we're just doing is switching from one extreme to another. So give it a shot, and you know where it's going, and good luck. Brilliant. Just to show people you can go from one extreme to the other. Just because one is a belter and will mostly do things that are belty, doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to turn around and do this spooky Mormon hell dream. And the top note is a B flat. So you just did that belty E flat. I think it went up to an F or something like that in the Spark of Creation. And then you turn around and you do the heady B flat. So one's voice should be able to go from one extreme to the other. If you're singing and you're studying, and let's say the belt gets really good, but you lose the high notes, there's something wrong with that. Let's say you're getting the high notes and those are getting really good, and then you lose the belty stuff, there's something wrong with that too. Now, one other thing to just check out where we're at is now that you did that high stuff and you did the belty stuff in the middle there, we're going to see what happens to your low voice. So just do this on an ah, easy peasy, see what happens. And remember, I'm going to give you one little hint. Now that we're this low, you don't need to work at all. So it's low, hold back. I mean, you want the chest voice sound, but you don't have to do anything. Much better. That's it. Easy peasy. Even easier. That's better. Easy on that bottom guy. You hear that little guy? Really back off, even on the top one. Exactly. And that's an E below the middle C. And you
Yeah.
can even go lower. You could hear that you can go lower. But again, it brings another good point that I could tell my listeners out there. When you're singing that low, you really have to back off on the pressure, on the air. The vocal cords are vibrating very, very slowly. They don't need a lot of air, a lot of pressure. If you put too much, you might get that little scratchy thing, or you might get something that sounds a little bit like something like that. That means you're pushing the air too hard. So you need to really back off on the air in the bottom. And then obviously you take a little bit more air, use a little bit more air for the top because it's higher vibrations of the vocal folds. Well, thank you so very much for doing this for me and showing my listeners out there how it all works.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Donna Reid Talks Voice. If you have any questions for me about this episode, please visit my website and click Contact.